Everybody, it's your boy, the Versace Stoner. We're here with another great episode of VSW Podcast. Today, we picked up something great from anthologies down in Mayflower Medicinals, and that is acid dough flower. Looking like a cool sativa hybrid. We're gonna try it out. We roll something, so we got to try it. Something interesting about this. Let me go over the facts. It is a sativa. It has a THCA of 25.69. Not bad, right? And then it has a delta 9 of 3.27. Wicked high in delta. CBGA 0.34, CBG 0.12. And then it's major terps, so like B-caffeine and limonene and myrcene. Are the top three. But yeah, I mean, interesting. Again, we're gonna try it out. Tastes good. Tasty. Can't really pinpoint the flavor, but it is a little bit sweet. Smooth though, smooth. Starting to feel a little bit of the heady feeling creeping in. And Anthologies is pretty good. I mean, it's like basically their house brand. It's not always the best, but it's always consistently good. On the strain, if you get it, it's gonna be consistent with it. It's basically the same strains that they had under their like Mayflower brand prior to that. The acid dough has been, one of their stable strains there. Um, but like I said, it was fresh flower. Buds were sticky, wasn't overly dry, very nice. And the quality was, on point. Whether the designer flower strains and buds that you can sometimes find, no. Um, but they are just as good as some of the, bigger name brands that are just honestly using similar or same flower. And that's the honest truth. With the way that the seed to sale and mass and everything is, a lot of these new brands that open up don't have a starting inventory. They just don't have the flower. So they have to purchase it, through a third party. They have to purchase it through another, farm or another dispensary. And then they just repackage it. And sometimes when they repackage it, depending on the name's brand, I mean, it's more money because of that name. Same flower, more money. Sometimes they'll buy more of the top buds, maybe make them look, more prettier, but still the same. Still the same flower. But as the industry booms and as it gets going, a lot of these, name strain, bigger names and like, celebrity name strains will, have their own cultivation. They will have their own flower at some point, I would guess. So far, pretty mild sativa effects. Little head buzzy, little talkative, little energetic, but cottony, very cotton mouth, very dry mouth on this one. That would be a biggest negative right so far. With that high delta and it being a sativa, I can see this causing anxiety in some folks. So I would be wary of that. If you do suffer from anxiety and other ailments similar, that it might cause that, or it might alleviate it. So that's the weird thing about cannabis. it can help these ailments, or sometimes, depending on the person, it can exacerbate them, make them worse. It's not a clear cut science. But it is very tasty and has a good I would say good flavor profile to it. I can actually like pinpoint the actual flavors, but like I said, I'm getting a little bit of that lemony. I'm getting some, a little bit of, I don't even know. It's just hard to explain with it. It is a sweeter taste though, rather than like that earthy or skunky kind of flavorings. But definitely very like I said, it's starting to really just kick in. Nice heady high. Very cerebral. Great to kind of get out of it. Mood boosting, elevation in that sense. Also, it does, like I said, well, it can cause that, it can get rid of anxiety, because with that mood boosting come, happiness, euphoria, et cetera, et cetera. Um, these can all get you out of those anxious funks. And so far, I don't feel like overly energized. Like I don't feel the body energy. I feel like I'm someone like Jack Harrison, where you're like that bouncing around, or like haze. It's very kind of chill. Sativa. It's kind of mild. Definitely heavy though. Very, very tasty though. Again, I can't stress that enough. I do like the taste on this. It's unique. And I'm mostly, I'll be honest, I'm a sucker for like tropical stuff, fruity, Hawaiian tropics. This isn't like that. This is more like, it's just kind of sweet. I can't really pinpoint. I do taste the lemon though, but it's not like a super citrus sweet either. Just like a small hint. And again, so far the only real negative side effect would be the cotton mouth. But smooth too. That's the other thing I want to talk about, is smoothness on this. It is a smooth smoke. Not too harsh. Was cured very well. Like I said, it was still kind of like, it was good. It wasn't overly dry. Wasn't wet though. But it was very sticky, very resinous when I was breaking it up to put into the grinder. And 25 plus 3, on the Delta, it's a good, it's 28, 29. It's a nice that's a nice THC. And where they are their homes, they're kind of strains that, it's their home brand. It is cheaper there to get the eights than the other eights. So they are affordable and more, a little bit less expensive than, your typical $50 eighth or whatever. Granted, prices have changed a little bit coming down, but I've seen eights for 25. I've seen them, 45, I've seen them for 60. Still, I've seen still $50 eights on some of the name brands. And that's what I'm saying. You're paying for that $50 for that name brand, and yet you could buy the same eighth from the farm that they bought it from, and it'll be like, $15 cheap, because it's not that name brand packaging, but it's the same flower. That's why I kind of tend to like, I really like a strain. I'll search the strain. Because some of those strains, they're from different dispensaries, but you can find them in different places, and then you can find the lowest, price on it, or if you can't find it in one dispensary, sometimes you can see it move to another. But right now, like I seen Cushman's kind of being all over the place, so I'm wondering, how many different actually facilities are growing the Cushman's, or is it coming from two or three different places, um, things like that. It's just like the inside stuff. It's kind of like the cool behind the scenes stuff, or like the wrestling world, all the kayfabe stuff. It's like, well, this is what we're showing. This is what it really is. And it's not like it's shady or anything bad. It's just kind of interesting because you do have, I don't know. It's a weird industry because it's based off a lot of, yes, the medical industry is based off a lot of, what is this doing to me? Is it working for me, etc. But a lot of it gets built off hype too when with these designer strains. Like you got the rappers and stuff singing about it, and then they get into the media and people are all hype about it. So when they drop, they're very expensive, and they're just hype strains though. They might not even be medically good. Well, I'm not saying medically good, but they might not be something that's going to help your ailment. That's what I'm saying. Damn, this shit's pretty good. It does hit you. But no, what I'm saying is, it might not be a strain that's gonna hit your ailment, but because it's, you want to try it, because it's been in the media, because it's made its name out there, you're gonna buy it, to try it. That's the thing with cannabis. It can be kind of like pushback method. Look at all the gelato, look at, Young Dolph, and look at Burner and Cookies Farm and all the rap music and all of that. It gets into the subconscious. You want to try these strains. I've been out to Cookies Farm. Was it anything special? I mean, yeah, I like the strains, but again, this is a Massachusetts Cookies Farm, so who knows, where the flowers come from A, B. It's a lot different than the Cali base. And see, I'm buying strains because, of stuff I've heard in songs, or because, the packaging looks cool because, it's in the hip hop world. The same thing could be similar, with some of these other strains that are coming out, brands that are coming out, by celebrities. You're going to buy them for the hype, not necessarily for the quality. And that's the thing about, cannabis. I mean, I'm sure it's all over in other industries too. Certain professionals, athletes, musicians, whatever, they'll endorse certain products, even though they're kind of on the mediocre side. But because they're, endorsed by them, because they have their name attached to them, they become, this premium product that really still kind of mediocre. Does happen. Happens in cannabis. You'd be like, oh, well, that wasn't really what I expected. But I'll tell you what, when you do get in, when you go to a dispensary, I would always start with, what their house strains are, their house blends. What are they growing? What are they known for? What is, the strains that people come back for? What do they keep growing? And then you kind of, try them if that's something you want to try to do. Because then you know that they're not being, all over the place. Um, and that they're a little bit unique. See, I'm a unique person when it comes to strains. I like to try unique strains that are kind of like not every day of the mill strains. Do I like every day of the mill strains? Sure. I like Blue Dream. I like some of the basicer strains that are used just, mostly crossbreeds. But for the most part, I like strains that are very kind of exotic, high terps, heady sativas, and just, stuff that gets you out of your anxiety, out of your zone, gets you more talkative and creative. let the creative juices flow. But that's me, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's different. But there's times when I'm like in pain that I need to smoke something a lot different, and that that's not my norm. And so I'll hit, something that I know that will come and work true and try again. Something that OG Kush, no matter what you get it's gonna work, it's fine. And it's kind of a basic strain. But I guess my point is, with all this, some kind of just rambling about it. Is sometimes I just don't buy into the hype of the design strains, the high end strains. It's cool, to try it, but a lot of it is money. Money being spent on their product. For the same product you can kind of find a little bit cheaper. I have just noticed that. And it's more so, like I said, the medical side, you got all these varying patients with all these different ailments. So some of them, the money is an issue, and spending less, they need to. They can't afford the product. So but again, this acid dough is amazing. Very heady, very good high. Get you stoned, man. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of different I've smoked a lot of different sativas. This is a very interesting kind of sativa where it does make you talkative. It does get you going. I don't find the negative effects of the anxiety. I don't really see that. I do, however, I'm starting to feel munchies off of it. So that would be another kind of point. And still that just caught him up. But besides that, very pleasant smoke. Very fun. Great way to kind of just boost the day and go. Get out of a bad situation, mentally. But back to that. I was saying, the designer brands and find them in different places and this and that. I said, I'm not totally against. I don't want to come out here being sounding harsh. I'm against, these celebrity strains. I'm not. I'm not against it at all. But at the same point, I'm just kind of wary of some of them because of the fact that the flower's the same. It's not this, anything more of an experience than the next, dispensary strain. But you're paying a lot more money. So I just wary of it. But then other times I've been totally proven wrong, and it's worked 100%, like I'm a big fan of Belushi Farms' hash. I think it's great. It might be a little bit more expensive, but it is wonderful stuff. And a funny story, it is kind of funny because one of my favorite strains of all times is Gelato 33. I like it because the thin mint really helps with the anxiety and stress. And also boosts my creativity like tenfold. And then the Sunset Serpent is very relaxing and very chill. So it's a very good strain for me in term value. But I would have never even known about the strain had I not listened to any of Young Dolph's music, that whole album, Gelato. And listened to it, I heard it first and I was like, and I heard it again. I was like, Gelato in the air. Oh, he's talking about a strain. And then, about a year or two later after listening to these albums, the strain hit, the East Coast, and it hit out in here. First place I found it was Sarah Naturals in Needham, and it was Gelato 33, and it was very low testing. It was like 16% THC. And at this point I had a pretty good tolerance. So like I wasn't really smoking anything under 24, 25. I didn't like it. Wasn't getting anywhere. But I mean I had to try it. It was Gelato, right? So I tried it and I fell in love. I mean, at 16%, this stuff was doing wonders. It was like, be smoking for the first time again. It was just great. And that just goes to show you the power of terpenes and how, THC isn't the world. That's where I learned that kind of. But then after that, it came again and it was even higher THC. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then we got concentrated form. And, 33 was kind of everywhere for a while. Then it kind of changed, I feel. We got another gelato in, it's a straight up gelato, not 33. And then it's like 41 or 42. And it's a little bit less, I feel it's a little bit less, I don't know, a little bit less creative, a little bit less happiness and more sedating. Um, than the original, that 33 blend. And then now we got all sorts of crosses. And then, my favorite cross is horchata. Because then you got the jet fuel gelato times mochi gelato, and it's more on the sativa side. It's very uplifting. It's a very happy strain, and it just goes to work. That alone, there, probably one of my favorite strains. That and mimosa that I found out about the shit that I, stumbled upon. But But yeah, so I mean, in that case, I mean, learning about gelato through the media helped me a lot. Um, so, and I found a great strain that worked for me medically. But other times, I've grabbed the hype of things and it hasn't, turned out to be so good or just um, but that's kind of what happens. And like I said, where everything is kind of just kind of pushed and it can be pushed. If 10 rappers or 10 singers start singing about a certain strain, of course you're going to think it's good, whether it is or not. And that's with anything, that's how products get pushed through endorsements. That's why they have, any company has, athletes and, musicians and superstars kind of, endorsing their product because if they're doing it, well, other people are going to want it. And, that's just how it works. But with weed, it's not federally legal, so it's a little different. You can't have all these people, yes, they endorse it, but they have to endorse, through movies and comedy shows and, songs and skits. They just can't, make a commercial saying, well, hey, try this acid gel. It will change your life. Like they can't do that legally. So it's like everything's kind of subliminal and just, you have to listen in. So, oh, they're pushing it through the music. Or they're pushing it through movies. You find some funny movies or whatever it is, like look at Pineapple Express. And that stemmed, I think, a strain too. And well, the strain came first. I don't even know, but that's another one. But yeah, definitely liking the acid though. This stuff is trippy, man. Really gets you out of your head. Really gets you out of your zone. Really pushes you to the next level. Um, and that's that really high delta. And that's what I remember, with the 16% in that gelato, the high delta was in it. There was like a 1 point something. So it was really like delta um delta high. I call it delta. It's more of a heady kind of high. I find it more psychedelic. Not in the sense of like acid, but in the sense of like it's just, your mind wanders a little bit. It can travel a little bit different. Now that they're starting to kind of like identify, the THC compounds and kind of isolate them. In some places, you can even just smoke, delta 8, delta 9, and different, cannabinoids. You can kind of see how some are more react, how some react more than others, and how the high kind of differentiates. But a high delta strain is a nice, heady experience, at least in my experiences. But again, fantastic strain. Now that again, that's Antidote by Anthologies, and we picked that up at Mayflower Medicinals. And it says you can check them out on Instagram at Anthology. That's ANTHOLOGIE _brand BRAND, or at anthologybrand all one word.com. You can learn more about their products. I've only seen them right now at Mayflower though, so but very good strain. There's sativa lover. And even like I said, more of like this is even the difference of sativa lover. It's not your regular kind of heavy energy jumping around kind of strain. It's very, you could get to work now, doing creative work, outside the box work. It's nice. I would take it out, to do, outdoorsy things, or hanging with friends. It's a nice social strain because you get that talk. You does break that social anxiety barrier. It's not what I mean. Versace Stone has got to give it 2 thumbs up. Versace Stone approved for the acid dough. You're gonna want to check it out. Go down to Mayflower, like I said. Check out. They got a bunch of strains. Anthology comes out with a bunch of strains. It is a lot of the strains that they had, prior. It's just rebranded, but it is fresh. It tastes great. Works great. The results are great. You're not gonna be disappointed. And sometimes you hear about flowers or whatever, and you go out, you get you see a strain that you like, and you get all the way out there wherever you go, and you grab it, and you get home, and you open it up, and it's either A, too dry and it turns to powder, or B, is too wet and it doesn't smoke right or grind right, and it's just like it's a big disappointment. This no issues with any of their flour. I haven't had one issue with any of Anthology's flour. I'm saying it's very reliable in all these deliveries. Might not be the best as the saying the best strains, because it is, it doesn't, there's a lot of strains in the world, put it this way. So I mean, depending on what your favorite strains are, you actually might love it. You might say they got great strains. I personally am a fan of a few of the strains that are on there, just because I'm not a big indica person. If you're big here into the indica scene, you're gonna find a lot more, I think, that you're gonna like in the palette. But I do, I love the Ghost Train hazes on point. Probably one of my favorite Ghost Train hazes on the market. And I do find theirs to be a little bit less racy, which is nice. And always testing up there high. And there's others too. One of my favorite was the Nukem. That was on the indica side. And also Taro G, they had it before. Like I said, so a bunch of the strains out there. But they're always, reliable. Like I said, they always hit right. They always grind right. They always smoke right. And it's always affordable. It's good price. We're just about done with this. Like I said, great morning strain, probably great afternoon strain, probably great night strain. Um, Definitely though a head trip. Still tasting pretty sweet too. That's always a plus. But we're just about done here. Definitely, like I said, acid dope. Go grab some. Check it out. Down in Mayflower Medicinals. You're not going to be disappointed. You're going to actually be very, very happy. It's great smoke. Sachi Stoner. Out.